This is America's Workforce, the voice of working families in Northern Ohio. One solid hour of fact-finding features, in-depth interviews, informative news segments, and practical consumer reports. Tune in now and every weekday afternoon from 4 to 5 as we stand up for you, your family, and our community. Now, here's your host, Ed Flash Ferris.
New data out, healthcare reform means big savings for American families. Another union company with big profits. And today on the broadcast, the painters and allied trades on a contractor stealing pension money and a home builder under attack. And the latest from Lake County Commissioner Dan Troy. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Wednesday, February 2nd, Groundhog's Day edition of America's Workforce. We call it Labor Radio. We have two featured guests joining us in the broadcast. James Williams, who's the general president of the Painters and Allied Trades, will be our first guest, and he's got two issues we're going to get into. One involves a drywall contractor by the name of Philip Joseph Franklin, owner and president of the Franklin Drywall Company, who admitted in federal court he filed false reports to labor union pension and benefit funds as part of a scheme to avoid paying tens of thousands of dollars in those funds. This guy has pleaded guilty to one count of providing a false statement to the Minnesota Carpenter Pension and Benefit Funds and the Painters and Allied Trades District Council 82. He admitted he directed his employees to underreport their hours on timesheets and on information submitted to the union funds. The company's workers were then paid overtime on a separate paycheck, but at the straight hourly rate. In other cases, the workers were paid overtime at a straight hourly rate on paychecks marked as other pay. I mean, he was really cooking the books. He has admitted that the false information provided the pension and benefit funds allowed the company to avoid paying $190,000 to those funds in 2006. For this, he could see some jail time, perhaps up to 5 years. They're also seeking restitution in excess of $700,000. Unbelievable what's going on there. Meanwhile, there's another story that Jimmy's going to talk about. And, in fact, there's a segment. We're going to play this. This is recently, 2 weeks ago, it was on CNBC, where the Painters and Allied Trades was part of a protest in Washington where they interrupted the Mortgage Bankers Association conference. Let's go back to CNBC. Here's what it sounded like.
Welcome back to the call. I'm Diana Olick in Washington live with breaking news. Take a look at the video. Over 200 members of the International Union of Sheet Metal Workers and Painters stormed into the Mortgage Bankers Association conference on mortgage servicing. They came up to the podium with big banners saying they wanted the $900 million back from Pulte. Apparently, they were targeting this particular conference because one of the moderators, Deborah Still, is a Pulte mortgage executive. She's also the Mortgage Bankers Association vice chair. They're claiming that Pulte is holding on to $900 million worth of American recovery and reinvestment funds, and they say that money should have been used to create jobs for construction workers like themselves. They were in the conference for probably no more than 5 minutes. Security tried to push them out, but were kind of overpowered. They did come out into the hallway, said they were leaving peacefully, but again, stormed into this Mortgage Bankers Association conference trying to get their point across against Pulte Homes. Really had nothing to do with the mortgage bankers. That's it from here. Diana Olick live reporting in Washington. Back to you, Larry.
All right, thank you, Dan. All right, that's the piece from CNBC. Now, they got $900 million to the Worker Home Ownership and Business Assistance Act of 2009, which was intended to create jobs and extend benefits to the unemployed. Here's what Pulte did. They spent the cash on increasing the ranks of the unemployed by laying off more people. Recently, the company reported spending $8 million on employee severances and related costs and announced plans to cut 350 jobs and close a plant in Arizona that makes doors, frames, trusses, and other components for its new homes. So they get money from the government, and they use it for severance pay. Unbelievable. Jimmy Williams. We'll talk all about this. One other story, if we have time, talk about this state senator out of Indiana by the name of Greg Walker, sponsor of a bill in the Indiana legislature which would outlaw project labor agreements. And he said when he introduced the bill, he says, I really don't know much about these. Their efficiency has been inconclusive. Nonetheless, he wants to introduce the bill anyway. Guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Doesn't have any, conclusive research, but he wants to ban them anyway. Okay, real good. That's the mentality of some of these lawmakers in America today. Let's go to line number one. Welcome one of our regulars, a great sponsor of America's Workforce, and that's Jimmy Williams of the Painters and Allied Trades. Jimmy, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Flash. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I had your buddy Ted Massanello on the show yesterday. I'll tell you, thank you for introducing him to me because we've become good friends. The coffee is dynamic, and we're behind. You might want to get involved in this. We're behind promoting his Valentine's gift box for $51.95, almost $52, which includes shipping. You get 2 12-ounce bags of coffee, chocolate-flavored spoon, cookies, a chai and cappuccino pack, plus a USA coffee mug. Of course, this is all 100% union. And for every order, Ted is going to donate $7 to the local MS Society. I don't know if I told you this. My daughter was diagnosed with MS about 3 years ago. She's doing well, but that's what he decided to put together. Is that the coolest thing?
Yeah, and quite ironic. I mean, my daughter was diagnosed with MS 3 years ago, too.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. She's on all kind of medication and lethargic, and she's still working. She's a nurse, but boy, it's really tough.
How old is she?
She's 37.
37. Mine was diagnosed when she was 18.
Yeah.
And what kind of medication is she on?
I'm not into that, but I mean, she's done it all, and she's getting no really relief, and she has 2 little ones, and they keep her busy. So
yeah. I know.
I'm more familiar with it, and that's one of my favorite charities.
Yeah, well, I hear you. Well, I'll tell you what, anything that we can do to call attention to this disease, and also at the same time, provide some good coffee and a nice package. I mean, this is a great package. I want to give the toll-free number, 1-888, it's toll-free, 888-581-8310. 888-581-8310. You might want to call Ted up and work out your own deal. Maybe the local chapter over there in Washington,
Yeah, no, and I'm going to go see Teddy next week. I'll be down with him. So.
Yeah. We're involved in the MS Walk, which is going to be in a couple weeks, and actually a couple months, I should say. And we're going to put together maybe a special brew for my daughter and keep the wheels turning, so to speak.
Well, send me something on that, Flash.
I will do that. Okay. All right. Okay, well, let me repeat that number again. It's 888-581-8310. And make sure you say you're from Cleveland, okay? You got to say that. And I discovered this through the Painters website a couple months ago. I just saw the little icon there, and that got everything moving. And like I said, Ted and I have become good friends, and hopefully people pick that up and get some good coffee and help out the MS Society. Well, Jimmy, we got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, Pulte Homes. We just played the clip in the first break from CNBC where your group walked into the Mortgage Bankers Association conference in Washington recently. Now, from what I understand, Pulte Homes, which is they're a huge builder in America. I know they have a presence here in the Cleveland area as well. They got a bunch of money from the government.
They got $900 million.
Yeah.
In government subsidies, whether tax breaks or stimulus money, and to spur the economy. And what we wanted to know is what have you done with the $900 million? And that was as you know, and the story was carried on CNBC as breaking news, and this was part of our poorly built by Pulte campaign waged by the painters and the sheet metal workers. When we attended that Bankers Association conference in Washington D.C., I seen a bunch of bankers a little nervous because 200 people kind of just walked into their meeting, and of course they thought and we were there for a peaceful protest.
Sure.
And it was directed at Deborah Still, the chief executive of Pulte's mortgage union. And we just said our piece, us and the sheet metal workers. And we've been working on this campaign throughout the United States. It really started in Arizona, where we got a bunch of homeowners who could not get things fixed. And the subcontractors they used were no longer in business. So the contractors with the subcontractors, and unfortunately the homeowner was left with a poorly constructed home. So that's how we got started in this, and we've had rallies in I would say at least 30 of the 50 states. We even had one in Hawaii,
mm-hmm.
and to protest the handling of a lot of immigrant workers that are not registered. They've had raids on their jobs, where the INS went in and everybody left. So there's a whole lot going on there, but that was quite exciting for our organizing department that was doing a class in our National Training Center. And we bust them in from Hanover, Maryland, and kind of shook the place up.
I'll bet you did. I mean, here they get all this money, and this is our money. This is taxpayer money, and it's designed to create jobs, and they do just the opposite.
Well, if you were to look at what the corporation, the Wall Street bailout, and what they're trying to do to just poor workers, I mean, it's just so one-sided. It's a shame. And they just take advantage, and without unions to represent these workers and these causes, I don't know where this country's headed to.
No,
I mean, we kind of forgot where my mother used to say charity begins at home. Well, charity begins with the USA, not with corporations and the American worker. So I mean, I really think that we need to wake some people up in Washington, D.C. about what's going on.
All right. Well, Jimmy, has there been any results so far? I mean, you've been doing these protests, as you indicated. Are they getting the message yet?
Oh, they've gotten the message, and we've had some success. I mean, I'm not saying that we've been totally shut out, but this is about a bottom line for someone, and the cheaper they can build the home, and the cheaper they can flip it, the faster they're out of there. But our real concern was $900 million. I mean, and for one company, for one corporation. I mean, how many of these bailouts are out there? I mean, luckily we did the research to find it in the stimulus bill and the tax breaks and whatnot. But I mean, what is really going on? They talk about Washington, D.C. and, the spending of money. Wow, I mean,
Yeah.
I know the painters would like a $900 million bailout, and maybe you would too.
I hear you. Well, that was my next question. I mean, have you talked to Congress about this? Are there any stipulations? I mean, it's our money. They get the money, and they use it, for the most part, for severance to get rid of people. I mean, this is not the intention of a bailout.
No, and we have spoke to Congress. And we have proposed legislation, on this and other things. And then a lot of these corporations have taken this money, and banks have taken the money, and they're not lending it to people. I mean, and this is, the money is there. They've improved their bottom line. They look good on paper now.
Yeah.
They look good on paper because of the money that we've put into their business. And it would be no different than a small businessman investing the money that he made to make his business better. But unfortunately, this is the taxpayers' money that they've used to pump up these businesses and to stimulate the bank's bottom line. And meanwhile, our members are going to unemployment lines. Okay, so it's discouraging, but we got to keep the fight up.
Yeah. Is there any indication that they have to give the money back? I mean, is there any stipulations on this?
There truly isn't, and that's part of the problem. Now, I know that there's some legislation that is being proposed in Washington that they should be audited and the money that isn't used returned, but that isn't being done. That's proposed legislation.
So, Jimmy, are there any other protests being planned as a result of what happened with Pulte?
Oh no, we have we're on a constant wherever they are, we are, okay, and what we do is through our network between us and the sheet metal workers, we usually give some lead time, maybe 2 or 3 days. and we'll call. Like we had a protest in Chicago, had one in St. Louis, one on the West Coast, many in Arizona and Nevada. So wherever the situation arises, our guys got to mobilize and get there.
Yeah.
This is like a 3-year campaign. This isn't something, And then, if it's worth it, you got to put some time into it. It ain't gonna, they ain't gonna flip for you real quick.
No. All right. The other story involves a drywall contractor. You know what? I'm looking at my time. I'm coming up to a break. Let's talk about Franklin Drywall. And if we have time, I want to talk about this Yahoo out in Indiana that wants to get rid of project labor agreements. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay, Jimmy Williams on our live line. He is general president of the Painters and Allied Trades. Their website, by the way, is IUPAT.org, IUPAT.org. Also coming up, second portion of the show, Dan Troy of Lake County. He's a Lake County commissioner. All on Labor Radio, 1490 WERE. All right, 30 past the hour. Good afternoon. Welcome back to America's Workforce. We call it Labor Radio, 1490 WERE. Snow up to about an inch accumulation. 13 overnight low. Tomorrow, sunny, cold one. High around 25 is the Thursday night low. Just want to mention real quick about another company, this one UPS, United Parcel Service, reporting really, really good profits. I mean, we had Ford last week. It came out, and these are, union companies. You got the UAW at Ford, you got the Teamsters at UPS. And you hear so much, we can't compete because of the union. How many times have you heard that story? Listen to this. UPS reported yesterday its fourth quarter net income jumped 48%. 48%. Revenues rose 8% to $13.42 billion. A lot of this had to do with China. Exports out of China, which include a wide range of goods from toys to electronics, rose more than 30%. And despite higher package volume in all of its segments, UPS operated fewer trucks and planes in the 3-month period to boost its productivity. So that just shows the workers, all represented by the Teamsters, are working their butts off. But the company is profitable. So hats off to UPS. Just want to get that mention out there. Let's go back to our live line. Jimmy Williams, who's head of the Painters and Allied Trades. I want to talk about this drywall company, Franklin Drywall. Philip Franklin, president and CEO. This guy could be going to jail for up to 5 years, I understand. What's the story?
Well, he defrauded approximately 261 workers of even the minimum wage working on his projects. Now, he had a collective bargaining agreement signed with us in Minnesota, and our business manager there, Terry Nelson, took this case on. And we received settlements almost up to $1 million in back pay and benefits, and wages and benefits for people that were not part of our union. Because when we go after these cases, we can't distinguish between the union members and the non-union members or the undocumented workers. So this case was one of many that we've been very successful with. I mean, some we had confidentiality on that I can't talk about, but, I'm talking millions of dollars in wages, and this ties into that same stuff like we were just talking about with the Pulte homes.
Mm-hmm.
People go out and they buy a product and they pay top dollar, and they're not getting their money's worth. So this guy here, he could face 5 years. But it probably is not likely. He was indicted and found guilty and pled guilty and they reduced the indictment to 1 count of mail fraud and he could go to jail for 5 years. I don't think so, but the time and effort that Terry put in this case, finally came to fruition, and you know what? It was a great win because they exploited the Latino community, and they exploited our members with intimidation. And thank God the members stood up. And you got a union representing you. Mm-hmm. Don't sit back. And no one forced this guy to sign the contract. I mean that's the thing that gets me. No one put a pen in his hand and signed this or else.
Yeah.
He signed it to get on projects, on prevailing wage rate projects, on jobs that, were guaranteed wages and guaranteed benefits and guaranteed money. and then he exploits the system.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this was a great win for the Painters International.
Yeah, exploitation to the tune of $190,000.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And there was other cases in that same district council, and we do this, daily within our structure. And I would say that Terry's activity there in Minnesota has really helped our membership, because now all the contractors are aware that we're watching.
Yeah.
And that's our job. That's our job.
Well, when a contractor sees somebody going to jail, possibly for 5 years, plus he's got to pay restitution up to $700,000, I guess that would get my attention,
Me too. So, our guys got to keep up, keep up the good work, because this is about the members. It's not about us.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, though, how many other Philip Joseph Franklins are out there doing the same kind of thing.
Well, there are many, and unfortunately, if someone's trying to provide for their family, they're intimidated and they won't come forward. I mean, it's not the Pinkerton days, but it's just as bad, and it's handled by management, because there's no jobs out there.
Right. Yeah.
And if someone's got a job, they're going to keep their mouth shut, and I understand that. But we try to protect them as much as we can, but we need a few stand-up people. The labor movement wasn't built on a bunch of people that didn't want to stand up.
Right. Good point. Okay, let's talk about this guy out of Indiana. His name is Greg Walker. He's a Republican, sponsor of Indiana Senate Bill 333, which would outlaw project labor agreements. And apparently, he said he feels research on whether or not PLAs guarantee quality and efficiency, has been inconclusive. So here's a guy that's ready to ban PLAs and admits he really doesn't know very much about them.
Indiana, I know it's our neighboring state there.
Okay.
But Indiana, the very first bill that was submitted to the new legislators there was a right-to-work bill. Very first bill. Okay, and on that bill, they had a provision that excluded, which would be, in building trades terms, excluded the building trades on right-to-work. All right. So if you're looking at it on the surface, okay, this don't affect us. But what it did affect was every other worker in the state of Indiana. And people are constantly trying to divide labor. And, it's something that, we got to stand together. Painter, public employee, bus driver, Teamster. You mentioned the United Auto Workers, okay, a few minutes ago about Ford.
Mm-hmm.
If we would have bought their stock a few years ago, how much was it? $1 a share. Look at it today.
Yeah.
$35 a share. And what was that on these American workers that can't do the job? I mean, we can do things in this country, we can make things in this country, but we really need to protect the worker, and we need to stand together. And we're not going to walk away from our brothers and sisters and the public employees and in any union. Okay, and you mentioned the Teamsters. Now, a lot of people don't know, UPS is union, and the other, overnight service is non-union.
Oh, yes, we know about that. Yeah.
So if you turn around and you make a conscious decision that you're going to overnight something, okay, make sure you do it with our brothers and sisters from the Teamsters. So it's, we really got to communicate with our membership. We got to communicate with the public. We got to let them know, because we got this right to work fight basically in 10 states. And PLAs is something that, are so important. Okay, again, it protects the public. It protects the taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah,
because you're dealing with reputable contractors, and not all union. They don't have to be union. They just have to abide by the PLA.
Right.
So I got a kick out of it when I was reading where he didn't understand it, and he wanted to know basically he's going to research it after. He penned legislation. I mean, come on.
I want to ban it first, and then I'll research it.
Yeah.
If these lawmakers would read the bills, and read reports, and I guess there is one. There's a report titled Building Better, a look at best practices for the design of project labor agreements. It was written by Dr. Dale Bellman of Michigan State University. This apparently was delivered to this guy. And if they would read that, just like healthcare reform, these Republicans, if they would read the benefits of the Affordable Patient Care Act, they would realize it's a good thing and not repeal it. You know what I'm saying?
And it's amazing, but thank God I have a great staff that keeps me up to date on it. You know what I mean? Because you can't sit down and read this whole thing. But if that's your job, you have to sit down and make yourself aware of it.
Right.
I mean, come on.
That's what we're paying you.
But it's amazing, and the lawmakers got to understand, okay, that we're just not going to stand back and take this. We're going to fight it. We're going to do whatever we can, to protect our workers.
All right.
Whether it be PLAs or Pulte or Franklin Drywall. That's our job, and we're going to protect it for American workers.
Yeah, that's what unions are all about. All right, Mr. Williams, thank you so much for your time and for all the content. Lots of stuff on the website. Check it out, IUPAT.org, and we will talk to you next month. And good luck to you there on your daughter. Make sure you give Ted a call. Get some of
I
that.
Certainly will, and you take care, Flash, and be careful out there. It's a little icy.
Yeah, just a little bit.
All right.
All right, Jimmy, take care.
Talk to you. Bye-bye.
All right, Jim Williams, General President of the Painters and Allied Trades. What a good guy. I'll tell you, check out that website. That posting we had from CNBC is on there as well. You can see that protest walking into the Mortgage Bankers Association meeting. Yeah, they raised a few eyebrows on that one. All right, 41 past the hour. We're going to break. When we come back, Dan Troy, Lake County Commissioner on Labor Radio, 1490 WERE.